All right, we are live. We are
Woo!
live. Hi, it's so good to see you.
It's so good to see you, and it's always so great to be here. I love it. It's my favorite day of the 2 weeks.
Same. I mean, not just because it's Friday Junior, but because I get to see you.
Yes, we are very lucky, and we are very lucky to have the listeners that are
Yes.
joining us live and that are listening in and they're recording. Also, we're all very lucky. Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you so much for recognizing that. I appreciate it.
of course.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and do our usual. Here's what the goal of our show is, and then we can just go ahead and start to jump into the conversation.
Let's do it.
All right, so We Built a Bridge was founded with the core interest of creating a funnel of conversation that many hesitate to engage in. Christine is a life coach for women, and myself, Colleen, I'm a fractional chief culture and well-being officer for small businesses. United, we offer different perspectives on wellness, culture, and life fulfillment to guide you to live your best life.
I mean, I don't know who wrote that, but that's pretty amazing.
Yes, quite amazing.
Actually, it was both of us. We revised it about a week or two ago. So, we wanted to make it a little bit more compact. So if you love it, give us a shout out.
All right, my friend, go.
Yep, I'm bringing us in. So as everybody knows, and what we say at the beginning of every episode is we really appreciate and are interested in your thoughts, our listeners' thoughts about our episode topic. So please share with us in the comments, or feel free to DM both of us or one of us. This bridge is meant to expand, right? And your participation brings in all the heavy equipment to get the job done. So thanks for being here, and please share with us. So, all right, into the show. What does it really mean to communicate and connect? People love their cell phones and say they can't live without them. They say it's their communication savior to their families and work. But is it really? To what extent is it helping us communicate and connect better than we did 15 years ago? If we were to be honest and open our eyes, we would recognize that technology is a large culprit in our loneliness epidemic. We say communication is the foundation of everything. So why do we keep taking it away by adding more technological shortcuts and contributing to our lack of connection? It's a heavy one. This is, like every show, every episode. But as usual, Dr. Colleen Saringer, before we jump into this long-awaited conversation, we have to start with our icebreaker and the question everyone's dying to know. This week, we're interrupting our regular icebreaker programming to address something that only happens once a year and is the most televised event of the year. We'd be remiss to not talk about the Super Bowl. So listen, whether you're a football fan or not, it's cool, doesn't matter. This Sunday is a big day and typically gets everyone talking about both football and the Super Bowl. So the off-topic icebreaker question is, who's going to win the Super Bowl in 2024? And Colleen, I was thinking, just so that we don't, you don't sway me in your answer and I don't sway you in yours, I thought we'd do a countdown to reveal our answers together. You in?
I'm in. Let's do it.
Okay, you ready? We'll do a 3, 2, 1. Ready?
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Taylor
Swift.
I mean, seriously, she's going to be winning the athletic apparel, whatever clothing line she's going to be wearing. She's crushing it. She's going to have an amazing Sunday.
I mean, and she's flying in from Tokyo, Japan. I mean, she's taking a long trip to make it. So, I mean, she should win.
That was a fun one. I'm glad we interrupted.
Yes, I am too. So just a quick shout out, Kim Arnold, thank you so much for joining us today. And we're so happy you're here. All right, so let's dig in because we know these 30 minutes go really quick. So question 1 about our topic about communicating to connect. I thought we'd get, I think we want to get back to basics, right? Mm-hmm. And what is it that you think it means, Colleen, to communicate and connect?
Yeah. So I want to tee this up because I know you have done this a couple of episodes ago, but just to those that are joining us maybe for the first time, Christine and I do have some prep. So we do meet in advance and we're just kind of talk about what questions do we want to ask. But from there, we do not know how the other is going to answer. So I just wanted to make sure that I shared that for those that might be joining us for the first time. So as I was thinking about how I would respond to this question, I personally had to think back to my environment. So the way, like, what was it like in my household growing up? What was it like around my family? Because I don't think that we can dismiss that influences a lot of what we know in regards to communication, respecting that we 100% have the ability to change it, right? So for me, I came from a household where nothing was off the table in regards to what was being talked about. And so sex, drugs, and rock and roll, like, yeah, it was all
You guys, listen, now you're getting a side to Colleen I haven't seen yet. So buckle in.
Put on your seatbelts. But for real, like, nothing was off the table. So that, again, I think starts to tee up like where my mind kind of goes is to the question, like, what does it really mean to communicate and connect? The other thing that I always want to call that I think is important to call out is that my parents, they did argue in front of us, which I'm really thankful for, because in hindsight, like, that's a part of negotiation. And then the third thing that I always like to reflect on is that we always ate dinner together. And that could have been 8 o'clock at night when my dad got home from his work day, but that fostered conversation. And so as I was thinking about all of that, where I went next, and as I'm like saying this answer, I'm thinking I could take like the full time to respond to this question, but I promise I won't. So I always go to in person, respecting that we are on Zoom a lot, which is totally okay. So even as I was kind of going through my responses, I thought, yeah, a lot of what's coming up for me is still applicable to the way that I respond on Zoom, like on virtual coffee chats and meetings and things like that. So for me, eye contact and spoken words, that's how I go to what does it mean to communicate and connect. And I want to respect that spoken words could also be through sign language, right? So I think that for me is important, that it's not just about what's coming out of the mouth. So from there, I then said, okay, with the eye contact and spoken words, for me, it's about creating an environment that feels safe. And the way that I feel like I do that is through welcoming body language. So open shoulders and then a kind face. And so the way that we hold our mouths and our eyes, like, those things really matter in regards to communication and connection. Also for me, it is silence from me. So when a person is speaking to me, I am going to be silent. I am going to be demonstrating that I'm listening as if they are the only person in the room. Because even that one diversion of eye contact to, especially if you're in person, to something that's behind them or next to them, that changes the way it's being received from a connection standpoint. Did they lose focus? Are they really listening? And that's kind of me saying that out loud as the recipient, right, of that happening to me in the past. The other way that I would answer this is it's asking for permission to provide feedback when a sensitive topic is shared, in addition to telling someone that if they aren't comfortable answering a question that I'm posing, that it's okay to say, I don't feel comfortable answering this, or I'd rather not answer. It's also recognizing in a conversation when a person might be struggling and giving them the space to share, period. It's not glossing over a simple, oh, I'm good or I'm fine response to the question, how are you? Especially if you've heard even the slightest hesitation. To me, it's really important from a communication and connection to recognize that and go back and ask again. I promise I'm almost done.
No, we are good. We are good. Please.
So these were all the things that were coming up for me. It's no cell phone at dinner. It's no cell phone at date night. And it's no cell phone when we're out with friends. And so when many of you that know me, and for those of you that don't, my husband owns a small industrial roofing company. And date night is a big thing for us. We go out every Saturday, whether it's with ourselves or with friends. And that was the 1 hour or 2 hours or however long we were there that we said, no, that phone goes to the side and it does not get answered. Text messages do not get responded to. They can wait because we cannot wait. The other thing, just to kind of, that I love this with our friends that we do dinner with, when there's a question, like if we're talking to each other and there's a question, we always say, don't go to, like, we don't want to go to Siri. We want to see if we can figure out the answer, right? Before picking up our device. I mean, over time we'll be like, we don't know the darn answer. Like, pick up your phone, right? But that's what I mean when we're like, no cell phones at dinner. We are here together. The other couple of things that I have here is it's addressing tough topics with your family and spouse instead of avoiding confrontation. It's opening up a circle, creating space when someone walks into the room or a conversation. That is something that I personally, because I've been that person on the outside, right? And I think a lot of this comes up because it's an experience that I've either experienced or just want to make sure that others don't ever have to. This is a big one for me. When I see someone come into something, I immediately like just open the circle, right? Invite them in because everyone feels uncomfortable. So then a couple of other things, it's having the option. So this, I feel like, goes to some of the stuff we talked about when we posed this question. It's having the option to pick up the phone and not only call customer service, but actually speak to a person, right? And for me, it's not an app. It's just not an app. And so I love what Corinne Canty had responded in one of the comments that was in, I believe it was your post, Christine, when you were promoting this conversation. She said something like, technology helps us talk to people all over the world, but it keeps us from the person right next to us. And so I just think that that's, again, back to that customer service piece, actually talking to a person and it not being an app. The last thing I want is another app on my phone.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. I know I did an update. So just to say this really quick, I did an update on my phone, I don't know, like 2 weeks ago, and they added something else to it. And I was like, I didn't ask for that.
I know. I had the same thing. It's like a journal thing or something. I'm like,
yes. I know. I need to delete it. I mean, I get it because it's a thing, right? Like people are journaling, and it is a thing, and it's very helpful, and it helps people focus. But I'm like, I didn't ask for it. Don't put the app on my phone.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, you go.
Are you sure you weren't finished?
I have a couple more things. I just have a couple more things, I promise. And then it's your turn.
No, give it. Come on.
Okay. So I'd be remiss if I didn't take this to the workplace, which a lot of those things are workplace related to, right? But I wanted to go into that square box for a second. Communication and connection is not using information to gain status in a relationship, also known as gossiping. It is not simply agreeing with leadership. It's consistent feedback loops. It's an open door. It's asking for help or coaching if you don't know how to handle a people challenge. And it's giving employees the opportunity to share their professional goals and support. To share their professional goals and support them in their direction, not the one that is going to self-serve you as the business owner or the leader at that time. So that's how I would answer it. What about you?
I mean, everything you shared are episodes on their own. I mean, really, they really, really are. Yeah. And I mean, I feel like if I were to reflect and comment on everything you said, the show would be over and it would be Saturday morning. So to spare everybody from listening to my voice for that amount of time, because I know it's not that great. What I want to do is I want to talk about how you highlighted Corinne's comment on the post, because when I posted, I had all sorts of emotions while reading some of the comments. It was at that moment that you and we both knew we needed to turn this into a 2-part series, that there was no way we'd be able to cover all of this in one episode due to how everybody feels the same, but yet nothing's really changing, right? Mm-hmm. So it was another there was another eye-opening comment that came in that I'd like to share. It was from Inuda Sert, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. But Inuda Sert, she lives in Turkey. I'm hoping she's listening right now. She has a young child, and you never know what children are going to do. But her comment was short, but it offered a cargo ship worth of value.
Mm-hmm.
So let me tell you what she said. She said, "Sometimes I wonder, when did human connection become a luxury?" So I had to read that a few times to really let it sink in, because I was like, what does that mean? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm still feeling the weight of her words and her comment is so impactful. Personally, I have really felt the decline in our ability to communicate, to connect. I felt it big time during COVID. So, yes, everyone was going through something and they all were having a hard time grasping, really what it was that they were dealing with, because it was all new. We were all out of our element and grasping at straws to keep ourselves together, right? I mean, especially those that had children. Oh my gosh, that's an episode in itself. I can't imagine, raising children and potentially homeschooling them. But again, that's another episode. So for me, I was going through my stuff, right? And but I was hopeful that I could share and talk about it with friends. I learned quickly that not only did people not want to listen, but they were quick to dismiss me, right? And this wasn't a one or two person situation. This happened with multiple people. And it was really hard on me, and it was extremely isolating. So, this is one I love to recall. I've talked about Katharine Hepburn's documentary on Netflix. It's titled Call Me Kate. And she says, if you're feeling sad, do something for someone else. It will help both of you. And I mean, just like mind blown when I watched the documentary. But the thing is, unfortunately, we aren't making as much effort, and we're all feeling it. Everything began to change before COVID. Then COVID accelerated it. And now we're in a loneliness epidemic. So I have to tell you, I have to pause here because, I plan what I want to talk about. And I was blowing my hair dry this morning, and I was like, everything I wrote down to talk about, I'm contradicting my overall point. So my overall point that I want to make, that I'll get to at the end, is that we're just talking about it. What are we actually doing to make changes? We're all talking about how nobody's communicating. Nobody knows how to communicate anymore. We're not connecting. And then it stops there, right? Like, I just was overwhelmed with how much I contradicted myself in not even, first of all, answering the original question to this question. So I'm going to uncontradict myself and update my answer. I just wanted to share it because that's what happens. We get caught up in it, right? We get caught up in what we're not getting. We get caught up in ourselves, and we're not giving out. We're not doing what it takes to connect. So to uncontradict myself, to me, communicating and connecting is listening with the intent to engage. It is listening with the intent to offer empathy or compassion, not judge. It is sharing to open up a part of yourself and invite your audience in, right? So that you talked about, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. We brush over it. We don't say anything. We're not honest. So open up more. It's applying honesty instead of purpose to impress. We are so caught up. And I just posted a video the other day about this. It's like, we're not focusing on our message. We're focusing on trying to impress, or what's in the background, et cetera, et cetera. We're not communicating. We're not connecting. And then my last thought was following up, right? So you have a conversation. Well, then what? Do you walk away? You get in your cars? Do you go away? No, we need to follow up with a response of receipt and care after the fact, check-ins, right? I mean, and the fact is, you started talking about communication in the workplace, and communication is not a work topic, and it's not a personal life topic. It's a worldwide issue. The more we just talk about it versus putting practices into action, the stronger likelihood we are to add this to the hamster wheel of all the other stuff we're not actively dealing with. So in closing, I'd like to say that I'm front and center for offering action and not just lip service, even though that's how I started my answer, but I caught myself, right? And I'm not afraid to admit it. It's like, oh my gosh, team, get it together. So if any of our listeners, if you feel the same, if you're tired of lip service, DM me. DM Colleen, DM us together, and let's collaborate and implement, right? Like, I know this is a heavy end to my thoughts, but listen, it's where I am and it's where all of us are. And it's why Colleen and I put together We Built a Bridge. And, scene for that.
So this takes us into our next question, which is about the barriers that are keeping us from doing all of the things, right? From caring, from connecting, from compassion, from not worrying about the background. So do we want to go there next? I think it's a good segue. Let's talk.
We
so
definitely
answer that question.
Yes, absolutely. We should definitely go there. And would you like to answer first, or it doesn't matter to me? I mean,
no, you go. You are already talking. You do.
Okay. All right. I'm next in line. So I'm going to try and make it simple and sweet so that we can open up a little, commenting dialogue about it. But for me, digital technology and smartphones are huge barriers. Like I mentioned, this has our communication and connection ability started to decline. But then digital technology came in and smartphones. And like we talked about earlier, we're in an instant gratification age. We want to be able to take a thought or a question, go on Google, go on Siri, ask the question, and bam, we move on, right? There's nothing happening with that other than just instant gratification and moving on. And in that also, we're sending quick messages versus detailed check-ins. Hey, how's your day? But really, that's not the point. The message is really to ask to get to something else. So you skip over the how are you, how's your day, and get into, will you pick this up at the grocery store for me? Or are we all getting together on Saturday? We just are dismissing these really, really important connections that we're missing and are making us feel isolated. So, and that's part of like the avoidance to reality, right? So with digital technology, here we are, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're doing all the things, we're text messaging, which don't get me wrong, text messaging can be very beneficial in the form of communication, but it's not reality. It's not hearing somebody's voice. It's not looking into their eyes. So that's one of the things I think. And then another one is, getting more personal, emotional with it, which is we've lost our confidence and comfort level in communicating. We feel insecure and unsafe. So you spoke about that with your first, we don't feel we're in a safe space, and honestly, the climate of our country and the world due to politics or, anything, we are in such a divide and we may never recover from it. I mean, I'm just being honest here. So instead we have to figure out how to be more accepting of our differences and let it be okay. It's like, you have different political views from me. Okay, cool. But we love cooking. So let's just cook together or, whatever it might be. And, we're going to have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. When somebody brings something to us that they need to get off their chest and it makes us uncomfortable, we divert, we look away, we don't engage, we don't ask. So guess what? We just made that person who needs to share feel isolated and alone. So those are just some of the barriers that I'm thinking about. And again, this is why we are holding a second episode about this, but I can't wait to hear your thoughts, Colleen.
Well, I just want to say, I love what you brought up in regards to not, or either, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like how you had said, not the willingness to not engage back. And so I always think about these difficult conversations and how, it's often, I want to avoid conflict when if we just pause, think about, okay, what's coming up is emotion. Let's try to remove the emotion. I feel it. Let's get it out of there. Now let's have a conversation. That is, it immediately, like, it's almost like we feel that it's going to cause an argument.
Yes.
It doesn't have to. Doesn't have to, right? So I feel like that is a good segue into how as I'm looking at what I wrote down here, I don't feel as though we can be a friend, a spouse, a sister, an aunt, a whatever, unless we are doing our own personal call out of what's going on here. So to me, I started reading this book called Parenting from the Inside Out. Now, if you know me, I don't have children, but I think that there's so much of value in understanding who we are from the inside out. And so, I mean, in other words, we got to work through our own crap, right? To help us understand our own personal triggers, desires to avoid confrontation, anger, the need to interrupt, whatever the case may be. And I think that will help us really kind of tweak our own personal approaches. So anyways, I just wanted to say that because and look, that's not easy. That's really hard. So
I was going to say that I didn't want to interrupt you, and I know I am, so I'm totally breaking the rule right now, but that is a huge part of it, is when we don't know ourselves well enough, when we're not willing to ask ourselves those difficult questions and face the music, we're creating that lack of communication to anybody in front of us. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, no, thank you. And thank you for interrupting, because it's again, like, it's not easy, but that's also something that we could educate others on, right? When we're having a conversation. So I think that's a barrier. I think the other thing is we have to be willing to try on different glasses. So, I mean, I think you've heard me say this before. We all wear a different set of lenses.
Yep.
And so I think without the willingness to do that, that is going to continue to make us want to avoid conflict and not have, difficult conversations and things like that. And then the other thing, which this can take me into the workplace, and there's a part of me, because I think there are some good comments, there's a part of me that's feeling like I might want to hold off on this, because my brain is going way too fast. One of the things that you said, though, about like with text messagings and things like that, how we've gotten to those short, quick, we did this yesterday. I said, I'm just going to call you, right? If the text message is 4 texts back and forth, we need to get on the phone, right?
Yes.
And I'll say that even to my mom, who's like a baby boomer. I'm like, Mom, why are you writing me a giant paragraph?
I know you get something like this one.
Yes. We have to want to talk again. Mm-hmm. And so those are some of the things I think that they're tiny tweaks. It's all part of behavior change. And at the end of the day, we can all support each other in changing behaviors. So anyways, like I said, I think maybe I should save the workplace stuff for the next episode, just because I'll take us to like probably Saturday, like you said.
Right. I know. I mean, I can listen to your voice until Saturday. I don't know if everybody else can, but
those were some of the things, as you were talking about, like those are the things that were really coming up. I respect that cell phones have created, my husband and I say this all the time, we are so lucky to be living in this time where you can live and work and communicate anywhere in the world. Like, you could be on a beach somewhere and still managing work, right?
Yeah.
But it's also created a bad time because it has put these divides, and it has taken away what real communication means, and it has taken away the opportunity for us to all disconnect from communication.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyways, that's my verbal diarrhea.
Yeah. Well, it's very important. And, we've had a lot of comments come through that, unfortunately, we don't have time to discuss right now. But thank you so much, everybody, for sharing. This is awesome. And it's going to feed into what we share in episode 8. But let me go ahead and start closing up to honor everybody's time. I'm the timekeeper today, Colleen.
No, I got lost. Oh my gosh. Thank you for being my backup.
Hey, that's what we do. That's what we do. So everybody, we go live every other Thursday from 12 to 12:30 p.m. Eastern. We're as predictable as your alarm on a Monday morning. So be sure to mark your calendars now for episode 8 of We Built a Bridge, going live February 22nd at 12 p.m. Eastern. And at that point, we'll be digging into part 2 of today's episode. And we're going to be offering up a surprise discussion. Trust me, you're going to want to tune in. I mean, if you enjoy our comedic, back and forth, you're really going to enjoy the episode 8. So thank you all so much for listening in. We appreciate you. Have a beautiful weekend, and go Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.